concerning Libya. I give the floor to Ms. Stephanie Koury.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Council. Over the past 2 months, the situation in Libya has deteriorated quite rapidly in terms of political, economic, and security stability. Unilateral acts by Libyan political, military, and security actors have increased tension, further entrenched institutional and political divisions, and complicated efforts for a negotiated solution. Let me share some of these recent incidents. On 9th August, the Libyan National Army moved unilaterally towards southwestern parts of Libya, sparking Western forces and groups to mobilize and assert their readiness to respond to any attack. While the Libyan National Army later clarified its purpose in moving these forces was to secure the southwestern border, this move generated tensions in the West and raised concerns with Libya's neighbor Algeria. These types of unilateral security moves are not confined only to movements of East-West forces, but also occur among Western forces and armed groups. On July 23rd, forces affiliated with the Government of National Unity moved westward, sparking mobilization by the LNA and among armed groups in that area. On 9th August, heavy armed clashes broke out in Tajura, east of Tripoli, between two armed groups, resulting in fatalities, injuries to civilians, and destruction of property. Local mediation efforts diffuse the situation. Mr. President, unilateral actions by political and security figures are undermining stability in other ways. Unilateral attempts to unseat the central bank governor are met with countervailing attempts to maintain him. Attempts to unseat the prime minister and his government are met with attempts to maintain them. On August 14th, tensions escalated and armed groups mobilized in Souk al-Juma, Tripoli, over reports of some armed movements seeking to take control over the central bank. The situation was diffused in the early morning of August 15th. On 7th August, in a highly close contest, a potentially one-vote difference, the results of the vote of the president of the High Council of State remain contested, and voting for the seats of vice president and rapporteurs are suspended. The political contest over whether to oppose or maintain the prime minister and the Government of National Unity have contributed significantly to this stalemate in the High Council of State. I urge the High Council of State to quickly resolve this issue as it risks further undermining its unity and legitimacy. On 13 August, some members of the House of Representatives met in Benghazi and voted to end the mandate of the Government of National Unity and the Presidency Council and to transfer the role of the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces to the Speaker of the House of Representatives. These members also endorsed the House of Representatives designated government in the East as the only legitimate executive. Western leaders rejected these actions. In response to these and other unilateral actions, UNSMIL reaffirmed to all political leaders and institutions their commitments and obligations under the Libyan political agreement and its amendments in line with all relevant Security Council resolutions, particularly Resolution 2702 of 2023. Mr. President, esteemed members of the Security Council, unilateral actions in relation to the economic sphere are also causing problems, instability. Following months of efforts to develop a unified budget with the participation of East, West, and Southern representatives, on 10th of July, the House of Representatives adopted a supplementary budget allocation submitted unilaterally by the House of Representatives designated government. This was denounced by leaders in the West. Moreover, efforts continue to change the central bank governor. The Presidency Council issued a decision to name a new governor and form a board of directors over the last couple of days, and this has been rejected by the House of Representatives. These efforts are fueled by perceptions that the central bank governor is not acting in a manner transparent and with fair governance to both East and the West in terms of allocation of resources. Unrelated, but nonetheless important, is a unilateral decision to close the Shirara oil field under the control of the LNA forces, causing the National Oil Corporation to declare a force majeure on 7th August. Mr. President, in the midst of this, UNSMIL, along with member states, have been actively working to de-escalate the situation. In my interactions with key leaders and public statements, I've urged Libyan leaders to refrain from unilateral actions, which would only further exacerbate the situation. And I've urged dialogue and a commitment to a political process to move ahead in the interest of the Libyan people. I've conveyed these same messages in my bilateral meetings with Libyan stakeholders. As a first step, UNSMIL is working to help facilitate an overall de-escalation and is proposing talks to develop a set of confidence-building measures between all parties to bring an end to unilateral actions and create a more conducive environment for resuming the political process. Among other things, these types of measures would aim at ending the unilateral actions, a commitment to that, restoring confidence in the central bank, ensuring that moves by military and security actors are coordinated so as to prevent mobilization and fears, among others. Going further, as a follow-on, then a success of the next stage of the political process will require good faith efforts by political leaders, security leaders, and actors, and engaged broader public, and a coordinated approach in support of Libyan talks by the international community. The international community's support for Libyan-led efforts is indispensable. I will continue to work towards this through engaging the diplomatic community in Libya, in coordinating messaging, and in capitals abroad in preparation for convening this phase 2 of political talks. Last month, I launched visits to some regional capitals to discuss a coordinated approach in support of Libyan and UN-facilitated efforts. My interlocutors expressed their commitment to support UNSMIL as it prepares the groundwork for launching these larger political talks. Alongside the holding of political talks, and in relation to a unified government and the holding of elections in line with current Libyan laws, UNSMIL will continue reinvigorating the economic, security, and international humanitarian law and right to working groups. These are critical issues that need progress alongside discussions and talks around formation of a government and elections. UNSMIL is also working with the Presidency Council and our partners of the African Union to reactivate the national reconciliation process and the holding of a conference under the auspices of the Presidency Council later this year. Mr. President, against this difficult context, ordinary Libyans are moving ahead, or trying to move ahead, including with democratic, inclusive processes. We are seeing a revived engagement of political parties, trade unions, civil society, independent figures, and others to coordinate and proactively and advance constructive ideas for shaping the political process. The mission is continuing its extensive engagement with Libyans, including political parties, women, youth, culture, and linguistic components, academics, and others, to ensure that they have a say in the future of the country. Local elections are in fact moving forward on a very positive note. The High National Election Commission, with the support of UNSMIL, is undertaking the necessary steps. Voter registration was completed for the 60 councils whose mandates expired or are due to expire by the end of 2024. Around 210,000 Libyans are registered to vote. On 18th August, distribution of voter cards and registration of candidates started. The elections are expected to take place in mid-October 2024. Unfortunately, female turnout remains relatively low, constituting only 30% of the registered voters. I'm also concerned there will be low participation of women as candidates. The increased number of reserved seats for women for the municipal council elections is in fact, though, a significant step to increase the representation of women in the local government. However, more proactive measures are needed as women face many hurdles, including intimidation, online violence, verbal attacks, and other obstacles to discourage them from registering as candidates. HNEC, with the UN family, is helping to promote the participation in women candidates through a variety of means. Libyan women are also advocating for the establishment of a national committee representing women throughout Libya to develop a strategy supporting women's empowerment across all sectors. and I urge relevant authorities to facilitate this committee. Mr. President, moving further south, extremist organizations maintain access and presence in Libya by leveraging the connections with local and transnational organized crime. The growing transnational organized crime and extremist organizations' interconnections in Libya are particularly concerning. Weapons have reportedly been coming into Libya in violation of the arms embargo. Regarding respect for human rights and rule of law, UNSMIL is working with all stakeholders across Libya, governmental and civil society, to provide technical assistance to strengthen national capacities to advance human rights and rule of law. In this regard, we have recently enhanced cooperation with the Libyan National Army and reactivated capacity building plans. I welcome the recent release of some individuals who were arbitrarily detained in the West and the East, including some children. UNSMIL is also engaging with the Libyan National Army and authorities to review cases of individuals who remain arbitrarily detained. However, the challenges are immense. Ongoing restrictions on civic space, continued arbitrary detentions, including of women and children, abductions, enforced disappearances, torture, deaths in custody, and coerced confessions continue to be reported across Libya. UNSMIL will continue to call for the immediate and unconditional release of all those arbitrarily detained and for transparent and independent investigations into such cases. On humanitarian developments, on 16th August, flooding occurred in southwestern Libya, primarily in Gat, displacing an estimated 5,800 individuals. In coordination with the government, the UN country team has dispatched humanitarian supplies and is continuing to do so. Since the outbreak of fighting in Sudan in 2023, the number of Sudanese refugees in Libya has risen to 97,000 as of 11th August, with most arriving in Koury, where they face challenging conditions. Full access to refugees is essential to provide effective and increased humanitarian assistance in coordination with local authorities. The UN response plan for Sudanese refugees in Libya is only 21% funded. Mr. President, members of the Council, in closing, the status quo is not sustainable. In the absence of renewed political talks leading to a unified government and elections, you see where this is heading. Greater political, financial, and security instability, entrenched political and territorial divisions, and greater domestic and regional instability. Libyans are frustrated with the status quo and the toll it is taking on their daily lives. People struggle to withdraw money from the banks and to meet their daily needs. Many express fear now about a war once again erupting or about clashes between armed groups. They also express fear about their ability to speak, share their political views in a space free from, threats. Youth do not see a future except to try to leave. This is not acceptable. UNSMIL is now focusing its good offices on helping de-escalate tensions, 2, preserving stability and fostering confidence building measures among key stakeholders, and 3, in preparation for convening Libyan-led political talks. Advancing the political process while maintaining stability is the key priority for UNSMIL. And I count on your support to take this forward. Thank you.
I thank Ms. Koury for her briefing. And I'll give the floor to